Charlie was always there. Charlie was always a part of our family, and he was just kind of a fact that we were all used to, at least for his brothers. When we got to Maryland and Nate, became Charlie's sidekick, or Charlie became Nate's sidekick, I don't know which. That was different. That was a different kind of experience for our whole family. I think from our perspective, Nate was lucky in that he got to spend as much time with Charlie as we would have liked to have spent with him.
I just tried to work with Charlie every day and, tried to help him do what he needed to do, the same way I would for Will. Do your dishes. We just tried to help each other in the same ways, I think. I think Charlie helped me just as much as I helped him.
Having as much independence as possible, having people like Nate come and help him go out into the world and out into the community and experience new things and have fun, was the most important thing that we could do for Charlie. And that's one of the things that Jubilee really helped us do. For my parents, Charlie was really sort of the center of their universe and the center of their home for a long time. And so the decision to have Charlie move out into his own independent living arrangement was complex, both logistically and emotionally.
It wasn't just about Charlie. My parents were getting older, so was I. I went off to college. I feel like that's when we really started making the push for it. I mean, we had spent a lot of time with Jubilee. Charlie was comfortable with Nate and John and others. We couldn't do what Nate and John and all of the Jubilee staff could do for Charlie. It's not about one person. It's not about making life great for Charlie. It's about making life great for as many people as you can and giving them as much independence and control over their own lives as they're able to take.
We never thought of Charlie as medically fragile in any way. He was a tough kid, always bounced back from illnesses and whatnot, and he did pass away this past January, and that's been incredibly difficult to take, both for our family, since we had Charlie sort of as the center of gravity of our lives for so long, but also for the team at Jubilee. They were with us at the hospital, and it took a tremendous toll on everybody who was a part of Charlie's life. And it's not something that we're ever going to get over. It's just something that we're all going to get used to. But the thing that matters most to me is that we gave Charlie as much as we could while he was here, and Jubilee was a huge part of that.
My mom had cancer and then she died when I was 22.
Natasha Gabriel and I met shortly after she left school, and as I got involved with her case, I also became aware that her mother was very, very ill.
When my mom was in the hospital, me and my brother talked. He was like, if anything, you're gonna have to, if anything comes to worse, you're gonna have to talk to your job coach and your resource coordinator about everything that's going on.
There were a lot of questions that Natasha didn't have the answers to, and I didn't either.
The last time I saw my mom was September 23rd, and she passed away the next day at 1 in the afternoon.
When I first went to the apartment to visit with Natasha there, her mother had already passed away, and her cousins had moved out of the house. It was infested with roaches, trash was overflowing. It was very clear to me that Natasha wasn't really able to take care of herself.
At 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, somebody, a bunch of people that me and my brother went to school with, broke in through his window and took my laptop and held a gun to my brother's head and my face. And then my brother was like, you can't stay here by yourself anymore. You have to go to your aunt's.
Within just a week or two of the robbery, she called to tell me that they had an eviction notice on their door.
Oh, we got evicted.
She really didn't have a lot of other options for places to go, and she didn't have the funding to live independently at that point.
After when I left my aunt's house, I got kicked out, and then I went to my friend's house for a week. And then from there, I left and then went to my stepdad's friends for 2 days. And then I went to the hotel, and then I went to the motel for a month, and then went to my stepdad's. I only spent one night at my stepdad's, and then the next day I went to Ken House. It was scary at first, but I got to go see my friends whenever I wanted.
She was very, very close to being homeless, and in some senses she was homeless.
Now I live in Tacoma Park, and I have a roommate, Rebecca. Coming from where I was before to having what I have now, it means a lot. Because I don't have to listen to people yell at me all the time, and I can make my own rules. It's a home of my own, and it's really cool there.
But I knew that Jubilee was an agency that thinks out of the box. Many of my clients needed a more structured environment, but Natasha didn't really need that. She needed some support and independence. So I thought Jubilee would be a really good fit for her. People with developmental disabilities that have that kind of independence sometimes fall off the radar and wind up homeless. She's extremely fortunate that she found Jubilee, and that Jubilee helped her to find that home that she really wanted.
Brendan has autism, severe autism. He wasn't really diagnosed with autism until he was about 2. You know, it was starting from scratch. He was our youngest of 3, and I thought I knew what I was doing as a mother, but I had to learn all over again.
Basically like raising a little boy who's always going to be a toddler. It's a whole different ball game when they can't talk.
Our son had a summer job as a camp counselor for young children, so he was able to compare the children that he worked with at summer camp with his little brother, and it hit him how disabled Brendan was. And he came home one day and he was crying, and he said, "Mom, all we have to do is just love him." And I thought, you know, you've got it right. That's the bottom line. You just have to love him. I'll never forget that. Our goal for many years was to try to find Brendan a faith-based type home. And so we found out about Rosaria Communities and then their partnership with Jubilee. We're not going to live forever, and we need to have, you know, Brendan's home set up and have him happy and established in his own home.
It's a struggle, it's an ongoing process, but you look at what's best for your son or your daughter and try to put yourself in the background, and how can I help them secure a good and lasting future for themselves. And so this was the right thing for us.
I was very impressed with Jubilee from the very beginning. They seem very organized and very, very caring. I've been very impressed with the staff that works with Brendan, with their commitment and their kindness. We all want to be felt, to feel that way, like we're being treated like individuals and we're respected. And I think that Jubilee has done that.
We think Jubilee is right there at the front lines, doing what needs to be done for the least among us.
Jubilee provides community residential services to adults with intellectual and other developmental disabilities throughout Montgomery County. We're very proud of the work that we do and the reputation that we've earned for innovative and quality services for the folks that we support. But we're also very excited about the future. Most of the funding that we receive comes from the state of Maryland, and we are so grateful for Governor Martin O'Malley and Lieutenant Governor Anthony Brown and all the members of the Montgomery County delegation to Annapolis for the leadership that they have shown around issues for people with developmental disabilities. At Jubilee, we have a history of roasting some of the incredible leaders in Montgomery County, and we are delighted and pleased to add Mark Schreiber to that list of people.
Mark, I would really like to thank you for your willingness to be the roastee this evening to benefit Jubilee.
Thank you, Donna.
And I know that you are from a family who has a lot of commitment and experience in supporting persons with developmental disabilities, and I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your family.
Well, first of all, I'm a huge supporter of Jubilee. I'm honored to be here this afternoon with you and this evening in Bethesda. A little nervous about the whole process, to be honest with you. But the bottom line is it's a great cause. Jubilee's doing great work here in Montgomery County.
You have written a great book about your dad and published last year, and I was wondering, he has been such a role model in terms of providing support to people. And I was wondering, how does your family feel about that?
About the book?
Yeah, it's exciting.
They were very supportive. My siblings were terrific about it. My brother Timmy, who's with us tonight, offered great insight, as did my other two brothers, Bobby and Anthony, and Maria was also incredibly supportive. They added elements to each of the stories that I had forgotten. And really the book is about a son trying to understand how the father did what he did on both the international and national stage, but more importantly, how he was a good father, a good husband, how he had a relationship with God, and treated people all the same, whether they were president of the United States or whether they were a Special Olympics athlete, whether they were a waitress at his favorite restaurant, because he realized that they were a gift from God. And I think what Jubilee has done here is shown us all that we all have different skills, we all have different attributes to bring to the table, and that we're all a gift from God, and that we ought to be treated that way.
You have been gracious enough to be the MC for the Jubilee Roast for the past couple of years. Yes. And I was wondering, now the worm has turned, and I was wondering how you feel about being roasted.
I'm a little nervous about it. The people that are roasting me are dubious characters. I hope we raise a lot of money, and I haven't figured out all of my one-line zingers to each of the people roasting me, but I'll figure it out, and we'll nail them.
Good evening. I'm Lieutenant Governor Anthony Brown, and I'm excited to welcome all of you to the 2013 Jubilee Roast. I want to thank the Jubilee Association for hosting this important event to honor our Montgomery County leaders. Last year, I had the opportunity to be a roaster of the Honorable Jeffrey Slavin, and boy, did we have fun with that bald-headed guy. Of course, I'm grateful to be able to participate again this year. It's hard to believe that just 35 years ago, Jubilee started as a single group home serving 7 people, and has since expanded into one of Maryland's leading providers of support services for people with developmental disabilities. Today, Jubilee serves 130 people in over 60 locations with 200 employees. I want to commend the boards of directors of the Jubilee Association and the Foundation for their exemplary leadership, and the Jubilee staff for all your efforts to improve the quality of life for the people you serve. I believe that strong communities are built and not born, and they're built on the dedication of people like you who are willing to make a big difference in the lives of our neighbors each and every day. We all have been touched by the stories we've seen in tonight's video and the tremendous need that still remains for services for people with developmental disabilities. I want you to know that Governor O'Malley and I remain committed to doing everything in our power to ensure our service providers, like Jubilee, have the resources they need to continue providing support in our communities. In closing, I want to congratulate Mark Shriver on being selected as tonight's honoree. Mark has dedicated his life to serving others and is exceptionally well-deserving of this recognition. From his 2 terms in the Maryland General Assembly to the creation of the Choice Program for at-risk youth, his leadership at Save the Children, his family's commitment to people with developmental disabilities, and the founding of Special Olympics, Mark has touched the lives of so many people in need. Finally, I want to take this opportunity to thank you, Mark, for dedicating this amazing, best-selling book to me. After our time together in the House of Delegates, it truly means a lot that you would pay tribute to me with this book. I'm very grateful. Thank you for coming tonight and for all that you do to strengthen our community by serving those most in need of support.